The Walt Disney Company has agreed to settle the largest wage theft lawsuit in California history. According to the Los Angeles Times, Disneyland workers sued the company for basically ignoring the city of Anaheim's minimum wage law for a period of several years. So, what happened? City raises its wage, and the company's like, "No, we're not going to pay that because we're not gonna. We didn't get any tax incentives, and so yeah, we're just not going to do it." Hmm. Now, they would have gotten away with it if it weren't for unions. So unions basically, and I'll go through the details here, but union said, actually, no, you're getting underpaid. They're stealing your wages, and the workers are like, they are. Well, oh, okay, well, we're going to sue them then. And guess what? They won $233 million. Disney has agreed to provide back pay to all of the workers at the Anaheim theme park with interest dating back to 2019. The agreement will be reviewed by an Orange County Superior Court judge on January 17th, before workers will then be notified how much money they can expect to receive. More than 50,000 current and former Disney employees are covered in the settlement, and the back paid owed to those workers from January 1st, 2019 to when Disney adjusted wages last year amounts to around $105 million. Wow. Peter Dreyer, professor of public policy at Occidental College, told the LA Times, quote, company has been stiffing workers for several years. They denied them back pay that they're owed while paying CEO Bob Iger over $31 million a year. That's a travesty. It's only fair that workers get what's coming to them, and if the world were fair, Iger would take some of it out of his paycheck. Now, he won't, unfortunately. But hey, you know what? A win is still a win, and it's a win for the workers, who, according to a 2018 survey by the Coalition of Resort Labor Unions, revealed that almost three-quarters of them said that they didn't earn enough money to cover their basic expenses. That's right. So they work, they can't afford to live. Now, I keep getting told that no, all you got to do is just get a job. That's it. I mean, that's all you need to do. Just get a job and quit complaining, and you'll be able to survive. These people have a job, and they work all the time, and yet they don't have enough to live on. In the richest country in the world. That should not happen. Should not happen. And now the reports that release coincided with a wage initiative known as Measure L, which ordered these companies in the Anaheim resort that receive its city tax rebate to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. As Walt Disney Company negotiated pay with theme park unions and union councils, it did not adjust its employees' wages in line with the new initiative, prompting Disney workers to file the lawsuit in December of 2019. That lawsuit originally represented about 25,000 employees and alleged that Walt Disney Company had illegally avoided implementing the wage adjustments. At the time, the attorneys for Walt Disney argued that we didn't have a tax rebate agreement with Anaheim, so obviously we don't have to pay them a higher wage. A judge initially agreed with the company. Per the outlet, though, the ruling was later reversed by a district court of appeal on the basis that a tax rebate back in 1996 for an expansion was passed by the Anaheim City Council. So they did get tax rebates from the city. Therefore, hey, if you ever got a tax rebate, then you should raise these wages so that your workers don't live in poverty. Seems fair to me. Now, Disney appealed that decision, but the California Supreme Court refused to hear the case, which concluded the company's legal fight. So, of course, they fought it because at the end of the day, companies don't want to pay. I mean, labor is one of the biggest expenses for a company. But, I mean, that's because labor is also the thing that helps your companies survive and actually make products or do services. So, yeah, you kind of need labor. You're not seeing the executives and the shareholders, unless you're in a worker co-op or something, that are actually doing the labor. Okay, you're not seeing that. It's the workers that do the labor, and it's the workers that deserve a wage that they can live on. Because otherwise, what's the point of working if you're not going to be able to survive? Okay, doesn't make any sense. But now, here's the thing: these companies, as I mentioned, didn't want to pay. But there is this oldest talk about crime, right? Specifically theft, retail theft. I mean, I remember especially in California, you're seeing all these local news reports. Oh, flash mobs showing up. They're robbing the WalMarts and they're robbing these stores, electronics stores and Best Buys. They're coming in. They're stealing millions of dollars worth of goods. Oh my God. I mean, it's all over the news all the time. You hear about that, but when your boss steals your money from your paycheck, nobody talks about it. That's interesting, especially because wage theft is actually the largest kind of theft in the country. How bad is it? Each year, employers steal an estimated $15 billion from workers every year. It's all across the country. Now, when you compare that to property crimes, the very, very well publicized property crimes, flash mobs and things like that, that actually totals around $500 million yearly. So it's a drop in the bucket compared to wage theft. And by the way, the victims of this kind of theft, they're not exactly who you would think, okay? Now, turns out the majority of workers with wages that are reported below the minimum wage are actually over 25, okay? Are native-born U.S. citizens. Nearly half of them are white, and more than a quarter have children, and just over half of them work full-time. Not exactly who you would think, right? That said, young workers, women, people of color, immigrant workers, they're much more likely than other workers to report being paid less than the minimum wage. But this is primarily because they're also more likely than other workers to be in those low-wage jobs. Okay, so this is a minimum wage. This is a low-wage service industry, mainly, phenomenon that happens. Okay, low-wage workers also experiencing minimum wage violations at high rates across all demographic categories. So basically, it's not just a working class issue. It is the worker issue. We're all working class here. If you work for a living, you are by definition working class. That's it. And so this is a major issue that is underreported, and it should be talked about a lot more. And there should be more that is done about it. Okay. And again, it was notice how labor unions were instrumental in bringing this case to light. And so, yeah, that's why the right wing, by the way, who generally, defends corporations, that's why they hate labor unions. Because these unions actually fight for the workers against corporate theft. This is a big win. All right. But understand more needs to get done. We need more worker protections. All right. Especially when it comes to retaliation against, the workers from these very companies that are stealing from them. Okay. Because right now you've got people living paycheck to paycheck. You got people that can't afford a $400 emergency. And so they're not really armed and equipped to be able to fight back. And so that's one of the big problems here. Now, that said, another problem is the incoming administration. I don't really expect a whole lot of headway to be made on this front from Trump. I mean, nobody really seems to be more anti-worker in practice than Donald Trump, despite his, pro-worker rhetoric. His actions, when you look at the last administration, when it comes to labor rights, when it comes to wage theft, by the way, because he actually signed, a piece of legislation that made it easier for your employer to steal your tips. Okay, so that's Trump's record on this. Trump's NLRB is not going to be all that great. It's going to be very anti-worker and pro-corporation. So that's not going to be good for workers. That said, forging ahead. That's what we have to do. We got to keep fighting, no matter who's in office, whether it be Democrat or Republican, okay, to ensure that every worker gets what they're owed. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.